Hi, I'm Robin Schultz with the Hoover Channel. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you'll always know when we have a new video coming up.
Good evening and welcome to the Monday, April 21st meeting of the Hoover City Council. I'd like to call the meeting to order and please, Clerk, Madam Clerk, to call it.
Council President Lyda.
Here.
Council Pro-Tem Posey.
Here.
Councilmember Swiney.
Here.
Councilmember Driver.
Here.
Councilmember Murphy. Councilmember Middlebrooks.
Here.
Councilmember McClinton.
Here. If everyone would please rise for the invocation, I've asked City Administrator Ken Grimes if he will lead us in the invocation. And please remain standing as Councilor Driver leads us in the pledge of allegiance.
Bow with me. Lord, we just thank you tonight for the opportunities that we have. We thank you for this wonderful Easter season that we just celebrated. God, for all the things that you give us tonight, we ask for wisdom and discernment in making the decisions. We ask you to guide our hearts and forgiveness where it's needed. And Lord, we just ask for strength for those who are fighting and dealing with issues and disease and challenges. And so God, we know you're the great provider. So we turn it over to you tonight and just ask these things in your most holy name. Amen.
Attention, salute, pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mayor Buchanan, we'll turn the podium over to you. I know you have some special guests you'd like to recognize.
Thank you, Mr. President. Before I start, I would like to just take a moment and share something really special that's happened here in Hoover now for the third straight year. We have been named one of the top 100 cities in the United States, and that says a lot about our city. I'm just really proud of that. So people are moving here because they feel like there's something special. The livability talked about the amenities, the economy, our education, the environment, our health score, housing and cost of living, and safety. And you know, we've got an incredible school system, ranks in the top 5% in the state. Our homes are affordable, our neighborhoods are safe. We have so many amenities that I couldn't rattle them off to you right now, but they're wide and varied between our parks, championship golf, neighborhoods that are incredible, the Hoover Library, Aldridge Gardens, the Hoover Randall House. We bring wonderful events to our city like the Regions Golf Tournament that will be coming next month. And of course, we're proud that we're hosting the SEC baseball tournament again. And I think that one of the reasons we get that tournament every 4 years is because of things that are mentioned by livability.com. People come from all over the Southeast and really all over the country to that tournament. They see what a great job we do in the Southern hospitality that we offer. So I would just first say congratulations to our council for serving and making sure that we have all of these amenities in good place and that folks want to move here. Thank you certainly to all of our employees that work very, very hard to make sure that our citizens receive exactly what they expect and deserve. But most of all, I want to thank our citizens for making this a great place to live. And I'm just very proud of our city to have been recognized by someone outside of Alabama. It's a national publication and certainly a feather in our cap. So congratulations to Hoover. And we will move right into our recognitions that we have this evening. We have first Snigdha, Pati, if she would come up. Would you come up? She won the 2025 Alabama Spelling Bee winner. She's the 4th grader at Deer Valley, and did a great job. See if you'll just stand right there in front of that. And we just wanted to recognize her, and I asked her if she spelled, if the word was supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, and she said no, it was jurisprudence. So she spelled that perfectly and won, and we just want to congratulate her on a great job. Thank you very much. Sports team, Brihan Jawani, Chase Gaston, and Parker Sims. If they would come up, and we want to recognize them for their championship as well. Come up. Got two over here. I tell you, one of you come and just kind of tell us what that's all about. Who'd like to speak? Everybody in here is not under 18, and so we don't understand what esports really is all about. Why don't you help us there?
Esports is a program for children and many adults to play video games competitively and fight for many prizes like cash and scholarships.
Fantastic. Y'all won it?
Yeah.
Very good. And someone who is so familiar to this audience and to this body, Coach Crystal Johnson. Coach, come on down. Incredible game. She brought with her Aaliyah Blanchard, Nia Brown, Layla Cannon, London Cook, Tatum English, Chloe Ford, Caitlin Gibson. Kaylee Hale, Chastity Johnson, Jalea Manuel, Kayla Maxwell, Akira Sparks, Kristen Winston, and Hadley Williams. Congratulations to y'all.
Good evening. I'm sorry, I'm a little hoarse. First off, we just want to thank the City Council for having us here and Mayor Mercado for having us in the building. We know this is our 5th straight state championship, so we're very proud of these young ladies. We also appreciate all the support from our admins, teachers, family. We have some parents that are here with us tonight, and I think that's what makes our program special, is that we are like a family. We have 4 seniors who are going off to college that graduate with 4 state championships, so we're happy about that. And then we have 9 returners who are already working to bring home a 6th straight state championship. Thank you.
Congratulations to those recognized. We will now entertain a presentation from our Chief Financial Officer, Ms. Jennifer Cornett. who will come and make presentations. Let me also say that if you are here for the recognitions and you would like to step out and not take part in the rest of the meeting, you're more than welcome to. If you want to hear about city finances, you're welcome to stay.
Can't believe y'all leaving.
Right, close the windows.
Good. It's a good move. Congratulations.
I think you just have to hit that enable editing to put it in slideshow mode. Okay, so this is the quarterly action and response update for you. If you want to go to the first slide here. So here we're going through a number of items that were open from the Kroll review. And as you know, there were many items that we had completed. And so the items that are finished and completed are no longer on this list. It's just the active and open items that we needed to address that remain here. So I wanted to cover those few items that we do have. The first one, the notation was that we were understaffed in the finance department. So again, I want to thank council for supporting the new positions that we were able to hire. So we have 2 new managers, and both of those managers are here tonight. So would y'all raise your hands? Amber Salter is our payroll manager, and Brad Nestor is our general ledger manager, but they have onboarded and they're continuing to gain their expertise and knowledge. We just hired a new revenue auditor and an accounts payable specialist that are in the onboarding stages. And we are going to fill the vacancy in the accounting specialist role by the end of this month. As you've been hearing, I do plan to bring back the request for a financial analyst in May, along with some of the other mid-year personnel requests, but our end goal will be to have increased our headcount in the finance department across all the divisions by 5 people. And we hope to have that done by the end of this quarter, so that'll be the end of June. The second item here, lack of formal policies and procedures. I have been loading up your mailboxes with some drafts for you to review. The development of formal policies and procedures takes a lot of time. And I hope that if you've had a chance to look at some of those attachments, you will appreciate some of the work that has gone into that. Each of our divisions is focusing on creating process narratives so that we can use them for cross-training purposes. The payroll policies and procedures are a step-by-step documentation of how to run payroll. And I can't remember how many pages that was in the attachment that was sent to you, but literally it is meant for anybody that can use our Munis software to be able to pick it up and process a payroll. And that took a lot of quality control review and patience on the part of every single person on our payroll team who had somebody sitting over their shoulder watching every click that they made for weeks. So all of that is very good, so we're happy to have that fully documented. The purchasing policy and procedures draft has been routed for quality control review internally. We're looking for feedback from you as you review that document, but also from some of our power users of the city so that we can make sure that what we're delivering in terms of a final policy is accurate and good to move forward with. So we have a couple of formal recommendations coming to you tonight related to policies, financial policies. So fund balance policy and emergency fund policy that'll be presented for your decision and consideration tonight. And then last but not least, we are working on a grant procedures and policies draft that we hope to have available by the end of second quarter. So again, looks like a lot of things are coming coming to fruition at the end of June, but lots of progress on both of these items. On the next slide, and this is probably the one that maybe gave me the most concern, because I knew how long it could potentially take to fix this issue, but we had some legacy issues related to our implementation of the Munis payroll system. And as you might remember, we had Munis come back in and do an investment assessment. And basically what they do is they come in and look at how you're using Munis and then kind of give you a grade and help come up with some options. And what we were happy to find was that the investment assessment revealed that it was not necessary to re-implement the payroll system, which was a relief to me. What we do have are some recommendations for process improvements that will let that system work based on a set of conditions rather than requiring human intervention or manual corrections. So we have some scheduled trainings in May and June for a PACE trainer to come and help work through some of those recommendations with us so that we can test them in the test environment and then roll them out in the live environment. One of the things that we are doing, and I'm looking to see if Misha Walker is here tonight. I don't see her, but I wanted to kind of give a shout out to her because both payroll and HR has to work well together. For division of responsibility, we really rely on our human resources department to set up all the pay codes, and then payroll runs those pay codes every time a payroll is processed. And we have implemented regular meetings after every payroll run to kind of run through issues that happen or don't happen. And based on those meetings, that's a fair amount of a commitment from both the payroll team and from HR to be able to do that. But we've narrowed down the number of occurrences that we have on payroll runs, so we're pretty excited about that. Of course, we have a commitment to continuous improvement. Okay, so we do plan to have regular training and assessments. But by the end of the year, we hope to have worked out all the kinks from that rocky implementation, which I'm really happy to be able to say that. So that's a big win in my book. One of the things that, one of the people I wanted to especially recognize here is that Mindy White has really stepped up to help be our application manager for Munis. And she really just has taken on that role, you know, just because. She kind of plugs in wherever we need her to. And so, Mindy, thank you for serving as that. Mindy has helped us stay on track with getting these PACE trainings done, and because of her knowledge of software, she helps speak computer language, and accounts can't really do that. So we appreciate you, Mindy, for doing that. On the next slide. Okay, so lack of complete and timely reconciliations. I am happy to report that we have completed our training efforts for this. We have completed all of our reconciliations for the fiscal year 24. We've implemented new processes to review bank transactions as they are happening before the bank statements run even, so that we can narrow down the number of reconciling items that we might have. And we are currently working to bring the current year reconciliations up to date. I believe for the pool cash account, which is our big cash account, that those reconciliations we're working on January. So, and then the payroll ones are finished through February. So as soon as we can get those up to date, that's going to make us feel really good about being able to report timely monthly financial information to you, because we'll be able to be sure that we recorded all of our transactions. All right, on the next slide, unaddressed payroll issues. So at this point, while I'm talking about this, I'd like to invite our payroll team up here. Amber, you can come, y'all just stand right in front of this little crest here while I talk about you. Okay, so in this year, we developed some new internal reconciliation processes for our quarterly filings. Pam, come on up, you too. Because I'm talking about you. So Pam was the one that actually developed our internal processes for reconciling those 941s. We had not done that in a really long time, so she made up that reconciliation process, and those are happening every quarter before we file those. And so thank you, Pam, for doing that. This whole team up here ensured that our W-2s for this past year were correct, okay, and that they tied to the 941s. So we checked every W-2 in the city, which was 900 some if we include all the part-time people. So we really wanted to have our W-2s be right this year and moving forward. So make sure both of those things reconcile. All of the IRS notices from the past 941s have been resolved. And so I'm really happy about that. We've established some best practices about the maintenance and reconciliation of payroll records and 941s. And then we do have one remaining item that is related to a wage and salary administration notice that we got for 22. We've identified what the issue is. We need to revise the third quarter and fourth quarter 941s from 2022. When we do that, we know that that's going to trigger a couple of notices from the IRS, but we paid them more. And so hopefully it'll just be a notice and we'll be able to resolve that, and it'll take just about however long it takes for the IRS to process through that. So now that I've made y'all just stand up here while I'm talking about all these things, I just want to give a note of formal thanks and appreciation for the hard work that this whole team has given, and I want to introduce you, each of you. Amber, and you can raise your hand as I call your name. Amber is our new payroll manager. She came in December and really has helped bridge the gap and connect a gap that was there between finance, payroll, and HR. And so thank you for bringing your knowledge from HR and the payroll setup into this and helping us get these things fixed. Crystal Wharton has been through just a war, right? Crystal's been here through all of this, trying to deal with a system that really didn't work very well. And Crystal, thank you for hanging in there and for helping us resolve these issues. And then Tiffany joined this crazy team in December or November as full-time, 100% part of payroll. And we hope that she's not sad that she did that. But we have a fully staffed team now in payroll, and a very competent team in payroll. And I just want to thank you both, or all of you, all four of you, for your help. And I think we should clap for them. Thank you very much. Okay, so to summarize, where have we been? Okay, so we've developed these internal reconciliation processes. We've made sure our W-2s were correct. We have dealt with all the IRS notices from the past. We've established some best practices, and we're tying up loose ends. And so I find this to be a very positive report, and I'm very pleased to be able to report all of these things tonight. So that's it for the quarterly update. Any questions? Okay. All right, let's move on to the next report. Cynthia, this will be the FY 2024 financial presentation. And I gave y'all large pieces of paper so that you can see what we're about to talk about. All right, so I am very happy to be able to present unaudited and preliminary financial statements for fiscal year 2024. These are preliminary, okay? And so as I know everybody wants to get down to the bottom line, this first page is just about the revenues, detailing each and every kind of revenue that the city takes in. So you can see in the general fund, we had a budget of $163 million in revenues, and we took in $181 million. Moving to the right, when we look at special revenues, we took in more actual special revenues. Remember, those are our funds that come in earmarked for particular purposes. Gas tax funds would be one of those kinds of special revenues. Capital projects don't usually have revenue attached to them. We just have expenses You can see that we're under budget there, and then you can also see the separate column set up there for the bond funds from the 2023 bond issue. On the next page is where you'll find the revenue summary and expenditures, okay? One of the things that I want to point out is that, again, this is preliminary. I do expect these numbers to change. So when we go all the way down to the bottom, you see a $10.4 million excess in the general fund. I want to tell you, it's probably not going to be 10.4. It's probably going to be somewhere in the nines, okay? But I'm very happy to be able to say that we have this kind of excess. This is more than what was reported to you in the form of a projection back in the summer. The big differences between that projection and now have to do with interest. So the interest was a lot more over the last year, and hopefully that makes sense. You might remember we kind of put a pause on some of our projects, so that left funds that were able to be invested and make interest for us, right? So our interest was a big factor there. We also have some other revenues, charges for services. So our fire transport fees are being reported in the general fund now, whereas they weren't before, as is all of the federal inmate money that comes in. That revenue stream is included there. And then also going down to the very bottom of the statement where you see the revenue rebate, we had a budgeted number of $5 million paid out in terms of revenue rebates, and it was only a little over $2 million. Okay, so those are the explanations for the difference between the projection that you got earlier and where we think we're going to land for this year. One of the important notes, the general fund funds all of these other funds that the city has, right? So if we're going to commit any money to capital projects, it's going to have to come out of the general fund and then move into their special revenues. We have a few special revenue funds that we spend more money than what we collect. Those have been cured, okay? With our internal service funds, which don't appear on this page, we have some internal service funds that we can have a little bit of wiggle room in and end up with a negative balance. We have no negative balance accounts, okay? So what you see here is a very well tied down balance in the general fund, okay? As we move on to the next page, I thought it might be valuable to just kind of look at some graphs to see what makes up our revenue streams and our expenses. So just within the tax revenues, it's probably not a surprise that our sales and use tax is a big chunk of that. For this purposes, I have SSUT built into that, but 78% of our tax revenue is coming in from sales and use tax. Where the other items, property tax is a pretty good chunk, gross receipts, and then other taxes, and then our rental and franchise taxes are not as many. On the next slide, if we look at all of our revenues, okay, which would include tax revenues as well as other things like license and permits or rents and royalties or charges for services, tax revenues in total make up 80% of the revenues of the city. Okay, so we're very sensitive to changes in the tax base and the tax revenues that come in. On the next chart, you'll see a breakdown of general fund expenditures, which I think is nice to see just for accountability purposes. 41% of the city's real expenditures were spent for public safety. 17% were for the general fund, so that, or the general things, so that would be things like finance, things like risk management, things like a lot of departments fall into that category. Our debt service is 11% of our budget. You can see all those percentages there. Spend 12% of our budget on recreation services. But I thought that might be a little bit helpful to kind of see where the money goes. It's going to support the citizens by and large. I think 17% go into, just operations in general is a good representation that a lot of these dollars are being spent for the citizens. Okay, so are there questions about that? Yes?
Thank you again for all this. I appreciate that. You mentioned on the debt service, what's the total debt that we owe currently?
I don't have that number prepared to give you tonight, but I can get it to you. Our debt service, if you look on one of those big pages, our debt service is around, if you do principal and interest just for the general fund, is around 17.2 in debt service. So, sorry, I don't have that number off the top of my head, but I can get it to you.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Yes, Ms. Cornett, on the first page here that you've given us under tax revenue.
Yes.
Sales and use tax, would it be possible to create an extra row there and break out the grocery tax revenue?
We could.
Now that it's been defined and identified,
We could, yeah.
I'd appreciate that.
Okay. Okay. Anything else? Any questions? I'm loading up with reports tonight. I got one more. Okay. All right. So last but not least, let's look at revenue trends. So this is for the current year. Have had a pretty steady pattern of talking about what the city's revenue sources are, at least the major revenue sources are. We're 50% of the way through the year. This is a big picture with a lot of numbers on it that show by type of our major revenues where we stand. There's only one stream here of our major revenues that is not at 50%, and that is our lodging tax. What's interesting about that is that our year-to-date lodging tax is up 3.5% over last year through the first 2 quarters. So I don't think that we're necessarily behind based on that with lodging tax, but I think that that's good news. Probably what's a little bit more helpful to see would begin on the next slide, where we look at the monthly comparisons for the last 4 years for different kinds of taxes. So this first one is our sales and use monthly tax information. We're up just a little bit from 2024. You can see the numbers there down on the far right for the month of March. This represents a 2.8% increase over last March, about $213,000 of increase for sales and use. On the next slide, SSUT we pulled out separately. Okay, SSUT had a big jump, 31.6% over last March. Now that percentage can be a little bit misleading. That accounts for $162,000 of an increase, right? But the relative to size increase is pretty big. And what we're seeing is the trend in 2025 is that we're taking in a lot more SSUT than we did last year, which lines up with what we would expect about consumer buying patterns and people buying online a little bit more. On the next slide, we have our property tax. Okay, so our property tax, we usually take in our property taxes over December, January, February. So March is a relatively small month. We still had a 37% increase over last March. But again, that represents only about a $37,000 increase in dollars. So the percentage is probably not something to hang your hat on, but nevertheless, it's better than last March. For our license and permits, for this category, we are down 8.7%. That represents $64,000, a little over $64,000 reduction of compared to last March to this March. Gross receipts on the next slide. Gross receipts went up by 220%. That's a big percentage, but it doesn't look like it. Relative to size, that's $156,000 of an increase there. On the next slide, just looking at year-to-date trends, October to March. So remember, this is a 6-month period, and with these charts, we're looking at for the last 4 years where we have been at this point in the year. So we're measuring the first 6 months of 22, 23, 24, 25, okay? So for our sales tax, for the first 6 months, we're up 3.04% for the first 6 months compared to last year. For SSUT, we're up 15.16%. Now, when you add the two of those together, that gives us an increase of 3.86%, about $2.1 million up for the first 6 months this year compared to last year. On the next slide, for our real property, we do expect to have kind of a moderate increase with our real property tax collections, and that's what happened, 2.94% increase for the first 6 months of this year compared to last. And then license and permits had a decrease, we kind of already talked about that, of 2.56%, down $239,000 for the first 6 months of this year compared to last. Last but not least, I'm just killing you with the charts, but this is my last slide, so I'm happy about that. Gross receipts and franchise taxes, those were up 3.02%, $257,000. Okay. So overall, we're seeing some positive trends for the first 6 months of this fiscal year, 25. Stay tuned. We'll have another one of these next month. Yes.
When you say lodging tax, is the lodging tax and the bed fee one and the same or separate?
They're in one bucket.
Okay.
So we report those in one bucket, and they're not, the lodging tax is not presented in any of the charts because it's one of the smaller pieces of that, but that was the one that was down, it wasn't at 50%, which I presume is probably why you're asking about that. But again, remember, still up over last year at this time.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Other questions? Okay, thank you.
Representatives of the Hoover Historical Society are here. I know Pam Thompson has an announcement. Ms. Thompson.
Mayor Mercado and members of the council, I just want to take a moment to send the invitation to our annual open house, which will be Sunday afternoon, the 27th, from 2 to 4. It'll be at the Hoover Randall House. It's free and open to the public. Y'all come. And we want to express our appreciation for the city preserving the Hoover Randall House and the new renovations that we hope everybody will come see. We'll have the Hoover High School Jazz Band Ensemble on site, and Mayor Mercado will install our new officers at that event. And we just want to make sure everybody knows, and there's a few flyers out on the table. The dues are bargain, $20 for individual. You get a deal if you join as a couple, $30, and then you can even give us more money than that if you want to. So we thank you for your support.
We now move to our consent agenda, which is presented as items 1 through 11 on the agenda. If you have a copy of that, I will begin by asking the council if there is an item 1 through 11 that you member would like to remove to the regular agenda.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. Can we remove item number 3, 8434-25?
Item 3 has been removed. Any other items? Very good. Any member of the public here to speak on items 1 through 11? If so, we have to remove. Corley, if we read items 1 through 11, we accept the number 3.
Item number 1 is approval of the payment of bills. Item 2 approves the minutes from the April 3rd, 2025 work session and the April 7th, 2025 meeting. Item number 4 is resolution number 8435-25, which approves of 050 retail beer off-premises only alcohol license and 070 retail table wine off-premises only alcohol license for Alabama Goods LLC, doing business as Alabama Goods, located at 5225 Peridot Place, Suite 109, Hoover, Alabama. Resolution 843625 approves of 010 retail lounge retail liquor class 1 alcohol license for Sticks and Stones LLC, doing business as Sticks and Stones, located at 5852 LC Road, Unit B1, Hoover, Alabama. Resolution 8403A-25 authorizes Mayor Mercado to execute an agreement with Vision Security Technologies in the amount not to exceed $104,031.37 for services and equipment to enhance the security, operational capability, and performance of the Hoover City Jail System. Resolution 843825 acknowledges and accepts a $1,500 donation from Alabama Tamil Sangam designated for the Hoover Fire Department and and authorizes the expenditure of said funds in accordance with city policies and procedures for purposes consistent with its mission, including but not limited to equipment training, community education, outreach programs, and other developmental or departmental needs as determined appropriate by the fire chief. This resolution further amends the budget for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2025 to reflect the receipt of this donation as shown on Exhibit A. Resolution 843925 accepts a grant in the amount of $43,635,000 from the Firehouse Subs Public Safety Foundation, Inc. to support the Hoover Fire Department in acquiring a Pulmatro spreader, cutter, ram strut, and accessories to improve and enhance rescue operations and emergency response capabilities, and authorizes the execution of any necessary documents to reflect the acceptance of this grant. The resolution also amends the budget for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2025 to reflect the receipt of this donation as shown on Exhibit A of the resolution. Resolution 844025 authorizes Mayor Mercado to accept a bid, which is bid number 25-004 for Hoover Fire Station number 4 cabinet build and refurbishment project for the city of Hoover, Alabama from Magic City Woodworks, doing business as manufactured good, in an amount not to exceed $19,470, and authorizes the execution of any documents necessary to reflect the same. Resolution 844125 authorizes the mayor to accept a bid number 25-006 for the Hoover Public Library Theater renovation for the city of Hoover, Alabama from CT General Contractors LLC in an amount not to exceed $267,747, and authorizes execution of any documents related thereto. And finally, resolution number 8442-25 amends the budget for fiscal year ending September 30, 2025 for the Hoover Public Library Theater renovations as shown in Exhibit A.
Mr. President, I move for approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Have a motion and second for approval. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. The ayes have it, the motion carries. We'll now move to our regular agenda, beginning with item 3, resolution number 8434-2000.
This resolution appoints Jeremy Weiss as a member of the Hoover Board of Education for a term of 5 years, beginning with the first regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Education in June 2025 and ending immediately prior to the first regularly scheduled meeting of the board in June 23rd.
Mr. President, I move to approve resolution number 8434-25.
Second.
Have a motion and second for approval. Dr. Middlebrooks will be abstaining from the vote, I believe.
That's right. Due to my employment with Hoover City Schools, I will abstain.
Any comments or questions from the board? Any comments from the public tonight? Seeing none, we have a motion and second for approval. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? The ayes have it, the motion carries. Mr. Jeremy Weiss is here. I'd like to ask him to stand and be recognized. I also want to introduce his wife and family to you. His wife is Tara Weiss. She joins him tonight along with his sons Wesley, Mason, and Graham. So if you'll please make way.
Mr. President, Council, thank you for your confidence in me. I want you to know that I take this role very seriously, as it should be taken. We have such a high standard of excellence in our city school system and education, quality education for all of our students. And so thank you for this opportunity. I'm very humbled to have this opportunity, and I look forward to working with Dr. Maddox, with the administration and the rest of the board to continue such a quality focus on our school system. So thank you very much.
Replaces the outgoing gentleman, Mr. Kermit Kendrick. Mr. Kendrick has been appointed to the board, served a term of 7 years, replacing, I think, Judge Jill Gamis when you came on the board. Mr. Kendrick has served incredibly honorably and has served our student body and our faculty well. So would you please recognize Mr. Kendrick for his recognize Dr. Maddox, Superintendent of Education, who's here, along with the board members that Jeremy will soon be joining, including Amy Tyson, Rex Blair, Shelley Shaw, and Alan Paquette. Thank you all for your attendance. Moving now to item 12, resolution number 8443-25, Mr. Court.
This resolution authorizes Mayor Mercado to execute an agreement with Riverchase Village LLC, Regina Investment Corp., Panda Express Inc., Walgreen Company, Riverchase Warner LP, Valley Force Insurance Company, Citizens Insurance Company of America, and AIG Specialty Insurance Company as shown in the resolution.
Mr. President, I move for approval of resolution 8443-29.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions from the body? Any comments from the public?
King, Rossbridge Parkway. 30 days ago, we were wrestling with how to address the urging sewer crisis need before $6 million, whatever it was. What you guys aren't necessarily telling the public here is, although it seems like a bunch of googly gob, resolution, blah, 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 but between all these entities, what you aren't saying out loud is that this is $4 million worth of sewer repairs on private property. Why don't you just be transparent and just lead with that? Instead of making folks believe we're all running out of money to be able to handle an urging sewer crisis. The reality of it is, if you can find $4 million for sewer repairs on private property, you could probably find $4 million or $6 million to add toward the sewer repairs we have now. Instead of telling the folks who want to perform an arts center, we gotta have this money now because it's a crisis. Yeah, it is a crisis. But why didn't we do the same thing we did here? Why don't we make a general fund request for the money? As opposed to simply saying, we don't have the money, it has to come from the Performing Arts Center. But instead, you roll this out here all sneaky-like, instead of telling the public exactly what this is. For months, I've watched you, John Lyda. For months, I've watched you tell the Thomas family the city of Hoover does not spend money on drainage on private property. You and Mercado. That has been your philosophy for years. You don't spend public money on private drainage issues. That's exactly what this is. Exactly what this is. And instead of putting, this is what this is, you guys know where the flooding issue is, 150 and 31. Every time it rains, it's a river, it's a monsoon. They're the folks at the Infinity lot, they lose merchandise. Every time it rains hard, that's what this is. When Whole Foods was coming to Hoover, the owner of that center made a commitment to update the pipes on their property. They haven't done so. The city hasn't held them accountable. But now all of a sudden, in an election year, we gotta get some dirt moving, we gotta address some issues. All of a sudden it's a $4 million request. A $4 million request to do this on private property. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me this, all this googly gob is essentially on public property. Anybody. It's public property, Mr. King, calm down. Then why not just simply say it's $4 million, we're funding the general fund to put toward private property because we failed to hold the developer responsible. But instead, more giveaways to the developer, more private property. Again, you could have found the money, and again, I don't know why the mayor changed his stance on spending public money for private sewer drainage issues. I don't know what happened other than it's election year. That's the only thing I can come up with. But I would love to hear another response, but I doubt you'll get one. So my request and ask is, I know you're gonna vote for it. Private property, $4 million, you found out of thin air. To me, this could be easily addressed with leading this properly. Thank you.
Matt Winthers, Scout Creek Drive. First, let me say that I'm glad that this will hopefully provide some relief to stormwater issues in this area. The matter was brought before this council on several occasions in 2022. Lawyers from different sides were present and spoke on many occasions. The general idea indicated by the discussion and ordinances was that the cost for repair were to be assessed to the property owners. This was resolution 22-2567, intending the city have the plans prepared by Sain and Associates. It was continued. There was only one way this was ever going to end, and here we are today. The citizens of Hoover will pay the bill, deal with the failing stormwater infrastructure until it is repaired. This property in question was redeveloped in late 2015 to mid 2016. It seems there was no inspection or validation of stormwater infrastructure at the site. This underscores the importance of proper stormwater management by the city. It would have been much less expensive and disruptive to replace the aging infrastructure during site redevelopment. Now we have the cost to repair that is a substantial portion of the value of the site. I want to reiterate that this is a prominent example of why the city has a responsibility in stormwater management. This means managing infrastructure the city owns and operates, as well as oversight of new and existing infrastructure on private property within Hoover City limits. Some questions this council should consider. How much was spent on litigation in this matter, and was the outcome worth the time and money spent? How much revenue was lost when businesses left the area? Does the settlement reflect the intended outcome when first brought before the council in 2022? Is the government being transparent when it does not provide the settlement or even details in the agenda packet for this meeting? Are the citizens being served well by the city attorney answering only to the mayor? Are the taxpayer funds being spent responsibly within the city's city's current legal representation? How much more will it cost to fix this problem now than in 2022?
KT Thomas, Trace Crossings. I support these repairs and lots of other repairs. I think the city can expect $4 million a year infinitely because they haven't kept up with these problems. Stormwater management is the city's responsibility, and fighting it only makes it cost more damage occurs, more people are hurt. The settlement supports the notion that stormwater infrastructure is the city's responsibility. However, there's another way that the city is failing us in this area, and it makes it difficult for the council to budget for stormwater or anything else, and I want to review that quickly. In 2018, the NPDES permit for new and redevelopment required the city to minimize impervious area on new development. Minimize. Use techniques to provide permanent stormwater management over the life of the property. The city responded with what they called an ordinance. It reduced the impervious area by 1%. That's not the same as minimizing impervious area. The council did not approve this. If you did, please show me the ordinance. In addition, this allowed waivers, and it did not address permanent stormwater management. Now, why does that matter? It matters because permanent stormwater management for post-construction means the city would not be responsible. The developer would be responsible for building structures that would maintain permanent stormwater management. So it would save a lot of money, $4 million in this case. In May of 2021, the city approved a waiver for a convenience store at 3641 Lorna Road as part of this ordinance. This is directly uphill from Lorna and 31. So the water runs downhill and into the flooded area. The impervious area was not reduced or minimized as according to Hoover's own guidance, which is pretty minimal. The city had the opportunity to reduce runoff with costs going to the developer, and they did not do this. And now we're paying $4 million for other problems. The city is undermining your budget by not doing what they're supposed to do for stormwater. There is no trail of ordinances allowing these waivers. Equally surprising and more shocking tonight is the fact that the Muni Code has removed subdivision regulations from Muni Code. So if you go in there, you can't find them, which is where these ordinances about how to prevent problems are supposed to be. They are no longer there. Who gave the authority to that? Did the council cede that authority to someone else in the city? Or do you have an ordinance you can show us that says we've removed subdivision regulations? To summarize, waivers are bad for the budget. Someone is usurping city council authority.
Thank you, ma'am. Dr. DeFranco.
DeFranco, 742 Scout Creek Trail, Hoover, Alabama. I don't have a prepared statement, but listening to this recalls a conversation I had with the mayor numerous times about the city helping private property owners. And I'll quote, he said that if he did anything to help private property owners with stormwater issues, he would go to jail. That's what he said. He would go to jail. He'd be in an orange suit. He would go to jail if he did anything with city funds to help a community or a private owner. He would go to jail. So I'm glad to see that the city's spending $4 million to repair this problem. And I guess the mayor's gonna be in jail in the morning.
William Kerry, South Lake. This first item on Hoover letterhead is a letter where the city refuses to do general maintenance to storm pipes and inlet structures. The second item is the actual stormwater flowing across private property that is city street stormwater that's flowing across a vacant lot. The third, third item, there's the city issued a refusal for a freedom of information request, and they said that was due to critical infrastructure. I don't understand, but that's what's on the city letterhead. The next photograph is the city's sewer easement, and that is sewer critical infrastructure that's at risk. It's in the city easement. It's being affected by street stormwater, and those are boulders coming down and hitting those PVC pipes where they connect into the city's stormwater. At one point in Hoover, we had a deal about saving the trees. So this photograph is in the city easement for the sewer easement, and those are dead large trees that have been undercut by the street stormwater that's not been managed. We're not following the SOP where we should be checking these things. So the trees are not being saved. It's just a total erosion situation. The last thing, if we are familiar with the Clean Water Act, this is Indian Valley Lake, and that is not turbidity, that's sludge. It's a large amount of sludge on top of the lake. So the lake's being filled in, and we're just not responding in a timely manner to these issues. Then they get larger and larger. So thank you for giving me the time to present these issues. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kristan Landers. I'm from Altadena Woods. I just wanted to remind everyone here, the mayor, the city council, and the citizens of Hoover that when you spend $6 million here and $4 million elsewhere, it's not government money, it's taxpayer money. You're spending the money of the hard-earned workers of the city of Hoover, the citizens who contribute to your salaries and vote for you in elections that everyone here has pretty much been primaried this year. Don't spend money recklessly. We're in this predicament because of poor city management, and I hope that we can do better in the future. Thank you.
Mr. President, if I may respond to a couple of questions there. So to go back to the 6.1 million pulled for sewer, my understanding is the $17 million bond, I think everyone's familiar with. We had 3 years to expend those funds. Foreman Art Center was not ready to be built, so we had to find qualifying long-term capital projects to identify those funds to go to, or else face some serious penalties from the IRS. The sewer project qualified as a long-term capital need, so that's why part of that 6.1 was pulled out of those funds. The drainage that's on the table tonight does not qualify, so you cannot pull funds from that fund for that. Now, the 6.1 that we pulled from the PAC fund, we are voting tonight to replace that in whole, to make that fund whole again, which I support and I hope this council will support. As everyone mentioned, I believe in 2022, Mr. Corley, correct me if I'm wrong, that's when we entered into litigation for this drainage issue. I certainly don't want to spend recklessly and up to $4 million for this project. However, there is a clear public purpose for the safety of the general public, our citizens, and those traversing that highway anytime it rains. This is just an incredible, dangerous situation here. So yes, we could remain in litigation, but that, even to be seen in front of the judge, could take another 2 years. Personally, I'm not willing to put those people that traverse that highway at further risk. Now, the original cost estimate to fix this issue was $2.5 million. However, the surface underneath has continued to erode, so until they bore into there, we really don't know how much it's going to cost. Now, the city agreed to pay up to $4 million, but hopefully it will be much less than that. So I hope I answered some of those questions.
We have a motion and a second for approval. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. The ayes have it, the motion carries. Item number 13 is resolution number 8444-25.
This resolution amends the budget for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2025 for the Performing Arts Center, Hoover Center for the Arts, as shown in Exhibit A.
Mr. President, I move to approve resolution number 8444-25.
Second.
Motion and second for approval. Any questions or comments from the body? Any comments from the public?
Paul Hamrick, Middlebrooks. First, I want to clarify one thing before I get started. My remarks are specifically directed at Mr. Lyda and the mayor. I've spoken to the vast majority of the council, and my impression is that you guys really don't, and support the shakedown that's taking place on the city right now. There simply is no reason to lower the reserves to fund the Performing Arts Center. It's a farce. I tell you what I've always heard raiding the reserve fund called. It's the drunken sailor option, Mayor, and that's not responsible with public tax dollars. But there's a bigger reason that the only option here is to reconsider the vote that was taken at the last meeting to divert the funds from the Performing Arts Center and vote it down. That will fund the Performing Arts Center, and it'll fund it in the way that the public was promised it would be funded. But there's another overriding reason why this has become so important that it be done this way, and by far the most serious reason. So I know the question on everyone's mind has been, why would the city go to all this trouble to divert money from the promised Performing Arts Center for some sewage project that beforehand no one had even heard of? Well, I think I've found a few answers. Mr. Lyda, looking at your statement of economic interest that's on file with the state, your source of income is working as a middle manager at Blue Cross Blue Shield. That is your source of income. Now, when you start looking at what happens when this money is diverted for these sewage projects, there are two primary beneficiaries: the white elephant development known as Riverwalk and Blue Cross Blue Shield. Their property value gets increased significantly by this sewer expansion into their area. And in fact, if you look at all the bottomless pit of the funding that's gone into Riverwalk, every bit of that has the same effect. It increases the value of Blue Cross Blue Shield. This has to be either reconsidered and voted down, or Mr. Lyda, you need to resign by noon Wednesday. What I have here is a State Ethics Commission complaint that I'm going to file on Wednesday if you have not. It should be noted that the partner of the Riverwalk developer's wife is also on the Blue Cross Blue Shield board. This is a huge conflict.
Ashley Lovell, Shanwick Place. So speaking of bottomless pit, I just can't let a few business things go in this whole situation with the sewer and the PAC and Riverwalk. And so I'm a firm believer, you've got to ask the hard questions, you've got to bring things to light, because if you don't, then things happen behind your back and there's a lack of transparency. So I'd like to review a couple of definitions first, the difference between an update and an upgrade. And I have a question over it. So update means minor changes or enhancement to an existing version. An upgrade is a substantial shift to newer, better versions of things, significant new features and performance enhancements, right? So similar words, but like entirely different weight of what they carry. And so that brings me to my question. And this is a question that I've been thinking about quite a bit. And I'm directing this question at Councilman Lyda, because as the City Council President, I want to know, can you tell me if we are dealing with a sewer update or a sewer upgrade? All right, so I'm going to take that as he's not going to answer the question. So I might as well move on to my next question, which is, again, directed at you, Councilman Lyda. As the City Council President, can you confirm if the commercial and retail space, the 135-room hotel, the 597 residential units at Riverwalk have been included into these infrastructure discussions? Because that's Riverwalk, and that's a lot of extra that's going to be on that sewer system. So from a business standpoint, if that's a yes, why would we believe that a failing sewer system could handle that kind of development? That's foolish. Okay, on the other side, if it's a no, then 2 words, how foolish. If you haven't considered it, it's just simply bad business. So either way, you can't win in this situation. Smart development is understanding the impacts that these developments have on infrastructure, the residents, and future generations. And I don't know about you guys, but it just doesn't feel like we are being told the whole story.
I'm Tracey, 2 Dismukes. I live on Chapel Lane, and just specifically addressing the PAC funds, I do feel confident that that's going to be a yes vote tonight, and I'm thanking you in advance for that. And then just to plant the seed that we appreciate that you plan to make that fund whole, the $17 million whole, but then ask for the action plan behind that, that it doesn't just sit there, and that, as I've said before, the Hoover Arts Council is ready to step up and be a support to that as well. So we just love to know what the plan is. Once it's funded, what's the next step? Thank you.
Darla Williamson, Craig Lane, and following on Tracey, I do have confidence, I am hopeful that you will make the budget complete tonight. But there have been opportunities that have come up for an art center to be developed, and they seem to get stopped. After the last meeting, I had a couple of people tell me that actually the $17 million that is marked for sewer, or that was marked for the PAC. When it was originally voted on, there was kind of backroom discussions that it would be for any sewer issues that came up. That disheartens me to think that it wasn't entered into, authentically for the arts. So I hope that we make that full. I did hear of an opportunity that came forth where a private member of the community was willing to match $1 million for the purchase of a school church here for the city, and that it did not even make it into the Art Council for review. So that is another opportunity that is concerning. And with all this talk about stormwater and everything that goes into it, the broad metro plan, which I know is gone now, but had an art center included, looking at having a past of looking at plans, he seemed to try to go and correct some of the stormwater drainage, some of the retention in the area around Brock's Gap as part of that development. So that was a little disheartening as a citizen to see that we are not engaging contractors who are working and developers who are working with us to try to right problems. So thank you.
Hi, I'm Liz Lane and I'm on Ross Bridge Parkway. I want to say thank you for your work in the community. I know that what you're doing is a lot of time and effort and not a lot of compensation, so I just wanted to say that first, and I'm really hoping that the PAC can receive the funding that it deserves. We have seen what tournaments can do for our community. We have seen what sports can do. We see how people do come from all over the country to support sports in Hoover. People enjoy themselves, people support athletes because of our city's investment, our tax dollars properly serving the public, which is exactly why I'm up here advocating that this money go back into the PAC. Art is a universal language. Art has no boundaries, no barriers. We can learn someone's story who would otherwise never be heard. It can bring us laughter or it can bring us to tears. The impersonal becomes the personal. Art is empathy, and in a community that is more and more divided, we need empathy and compassion. It helps us be good neighbors. An art center could be a third space, a community space. It is not school or work or home or sports. It's a place where we can find our identities. This is a place where Hoover could build its heart. I really hope that you will take the excess money in the general fund and apply it to the PAC. Also, I have lived through many environmental disasters, and I feel like pitting environmentalism against the arts is a burn to taxpayers in this community. We desperately need to fund both, and I would really like to see a full breakdown of repairs, upgrades, whatever you want to call it, to the sewer system, and a plan for that, because the longer that sewer funding, the longer that everything is delayed there, the more expensive it gets, as we've seen. Thank you so much.
So I heard Ken came again, Rossbridge Parkway. I heard Ms. Lovell say that things didn't seem super transparent. She had some questions about a few things, so I thought I would take this opportunity to kind of do a recap of Riverwalk Village. So I think some time back, I think there was a push to bring more of a healthcare component to the city, and there was some talk about where that would go, whether it be the Galleria, Patton Creek, wherever. Ultimately, it was a decision made that there was an opportunity at the old Regents building off Riverchase. And apparently Robert Simon, phenomenal developer, I think that was his baby at the time. And I want to say there were some talks ahead of this development regarding to the certificate of need hearing, where you had to request this license, if you will, to be able to have a healthcare facility or option operating out of that space. Well, that particular hearing was a gift that just kept on giving. That's how we first met Ms. Cornett. That's how we first found out about the Kroll audit. That's how we first found out about this idea that the city and the mayor's office isn't being super responsive or transparent with the council. We learned a whole lot from that Kroll audit and that certificate of need hearing. But what came out of that is a last minute push, and the council will correct me if I'm wrong, fairly quickly. We got to sign this thing now. Developers ready to go, we got to go now. And what ultimately happened was this rush to sign this deal was a $17 million incentive to the developer. Cash, up front. Unheard of in Hoover's history. Unheard of. Record breaking. Last minute, $17 million cash. Again, the council kind of got it last minute. The mayor was like, we gotta go now, we gotta go now, he's ready to go now. They give him the farm away, right? So that $17 million is gone. Now, if I had to guess, I would probably say that they probably didn't own the whole infrastructure piece. I'm sure the developer probably got a sweetheart deal out of Mercado as well, where the city has to kind of fork over money for the infrastructure. Ashley, Lovell, to your point, the upgrades, very unlikely updates. I'm sorry, updates is probably what you're gonna get. Upgrades, not updates, I'm sorry. And so essentially what ends up happening is that now the city's on the hook for infrastructure. And so at some point, you gotta start seeing 5 million here, 6 million here come down the pipeline to pay for 500 new homes or 300 to 500 new homes to go on that site. Riverchase sewer water system has to support that many more homes. Also, what you have is, as a part of that $17 million cash incentive, you also have how much money, millions of dollars a year in rent. Anyone want to take a wild guess for city employees? How many city employees in that building right now that have been here for a year? They've already spent $3.5 million on rent for last year, $3.5 million due this year. How many employees? Take a wild guess.
Thank you very much.
Less than 10.
Robin Schultz, Bluff Park. So on April 7th, the mayor gave an eloquent speech regarding the sewer, but there's some inconsistencies that need to be addressed. First, this body was addressed by a gentleman by the name of Jim Marshall in June of 2021. Mr. Marshall is with a company called Jackson Thornton, and he talked about the rate increase for the Riverchase sewer system. The rate increase was to take care of the increased maintenance and improvements. Exactly what the rate increase was for. Yet during the mayor's speech, he said that the rates would have to be doubled in order to keep the sewer system going. Mr. Marshall's justification for the rate increase in 2021 was to keep the system maintained and for future improvements. One comment he made stands out, and it was on the video that was deleted by the city, but we were able to recover it. It's on the Hoover Channel if you want to watch it. The comment that stands out is the more water you're treating, the more you're pumping. There's been no increase in consumption until now. Riverwalk. Mr. Marshall was speaking of pre-Riverwalk status. Then during the council comments on the 7th, the mayor disputed Councilor McClinton's assertion that he had kept the council informed. Yet during Councilor Driver's comment, she said, and I quote, "Now that we're aware of the sewer situation," which affirms Mr. McClinton's comments. Mayor, you keep using the word transparency. To paraphrase The Princess Bride, Mayor, you keep on using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means. How about being honest with the residents and with the council? It's evident that the reason for the urgency is that they are ready to build and the existing sewer system is not capable of handling the increased load. Now, Mr. Lyda, you said in your comments on the 7th, well, sometimes folks just don't want to make a decision. I understand that. You've had 2+ years to make a decision on the PAC. You've opted not to make one. I understand that. You've never been in favor of the PAC, and kicking it down the road is fine with you. April 2023, 1 month after the bond vote, you told another council member that you wanted to use the bond money for the sewer. And the wording in the bond allowed you to do so. Smart, very smart. And here we are, using the bond money for the sewer. Thank you.
Motion second for approval, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, the motion carries. Item 14, resolution number 8445-25.
This resolution adopts the general fund balance policy as shown in Exhibit A to the resolution.
Mr. President, I move for the approval of resolution number 8445-25.
Second.
Motion second for approval, questions or comments on the tender? Comments from the public? Hearing and seeing none, motion second is on the floor for approval, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. The ayes have it, the motion carries. Item 15 is resolution number 8446-2004.
This resolution adopts an emergency fund policy as shown in Exhibit A attached to the resolution.
Mr. President, I move for approval of resolution number 8446-25.
Second.
Motion and second for approval. Any comments or questions from the body? Any comments from the public tonight? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, the motion carries. These are now up for second readings. We have number 16, ordinance number 25-2671.
This ordinance provides for the levying of municipal taxes for the city of Hoover, Alabama, for the assessment and collection of such taxes.
Mr. President, I move for the adoption of ordinance number 25-2671.
Second.
Motion and second for approval. Any comments or questions from the body? Comments from the public tonight? Madam Clerk, please call the roll. Minutes and vote.
Councilor Posey.
Aye.
Councilor Swiney.
Aye.
Councilor Driver.
Aye.
Councilor Murphy. Councilor Middlebrooks.
Aye.
Councilor McClinton.
Aye.
Councilman Lyda.
Aye. Vote of 6 ayes, 0 nays. The motion carries and the ordinance is adopted. Item number 17, ordinance number 25-2667A. Mr. Cornett.
This ordinance amends Appendix 4, Article 6, Division 4 of the Municipal Code of Hoover, Alabama, and grants a non-exclusive franchise to MCI Metro Access Transmission Services LLC, doing business as Verizon Access Transmission Services.
Mr. President, I move for the adoption of ordinance number 25-2667A.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions from the body? Any comments from the public tonight on this item? A motion second for approval, Madam Clerk. Call the roll, please.
Councilor Posey.
Aye.
Councilor Swiney.
Aye.
Councilor Driver.
Aye.
Councilor Murphy. Councilor Middlebrooks.
Aye.
Councilor McClinton.
Aye.
Councilor Lyda.
Aye. The vote of 6 ayes and 0 nays. Motion carries. Ordinance is adopted. Item number 15 is ordinance number 25-2670. Mr. Cornett.
This ordinance establishes 17 voting places and 1 absentee voting place as listed in Exhibit 1 of the resolution for the municipal election scheduled to take place on the 4th Tuesday in August 2025.
Mr. President, I move for the adoption of ordinance number 25-2670.
Second.
Motion and second. Any comments or questions from the members? Comments from the public tonight on number 18?
Part of why, Ken King, Rossford Parkway, part of why I take the opportunity to talk now is because this is probably the only chance you really have. I mean, if there was a back and forth, and thank you, Casey Middlebrooks, you're the exception. If there was an opportunity to have a back and forth dialogue with leaders about challenges we face, whether it be parks, sewers, it could be water, it could be whatever it is, there's very limited opportunity. In fact, when you come before the council, what you typically get is this type of behavior where Mr. Lyda.
You have a.
I have 3 minutes. I have 3 minutes. You step into my time. Shut your mouth. Okay. So, grab security. As I was saying, it's not a violation for you to tell me.
Let's be civil during this.
Yeah. So again, he's required to be civil. I got you. You want to arrest me?
I don't want to.
Okay. Well, you might have to.
Sir, please.
Let him speak.
All right. So.
Let him speak.
As I was saying, I'm here to share.
You can have a seat.
No, sir.
As I was saying.
Those are your choices, sir. You can have a seat or you can leave.
As I was saying, I'm here to be able to share my view that unfortunately you guys don't give us an opportunity. I want one last statement I have to make about Riverwalk. Here what you'll find is here's Riverwalk Village.
I'm asking you. Please, sir.
We have a motion, second for approval. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Posey.
Aye.
Councilor Swiney.
Aye.
Councilor Driver.
Aye.
Councilor Murphy. Councilor Middlebrooks.
Aye.
Councilor McClinton.
Aye.
Councilor Lyda.
Aye, the vote 6 ayes and 0 nays. The motion carries and the ordinance is adopted. Item number 19, ordinance number 25-2672, Mr. Cornett.
This ordinance authorizes the transfer of real property of the city of Hoover, Alabama to Shelby County, Alabama for the public purpose of the Valleydale Road widening project, project number IMD SPPBH 7112, parentheses 602.
Shows I move for adoption of ordinance number 25-2672.
Second.
A motion and a second for approval. Any comments from the public? Any comments from the public? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Posey.
Aye.
Councilor Swiney.
Aye.
Councilor Driver.
Aye.
Councilor Murphy. Councilor Middlebrooks.
Aye.
Councilor McClinton.
Aye.
Councilor Lyda.
Aye, the vote 6 ayes and 0 nays. Motion carries and ordinance is adopted. Item number 20 is ordinance number 25-2673.
This ordinance authorizes the transfer of real property of the city of Hoover, Alabama to Shelby County, Alabama for the public purpose of the Valleydale Road widening project, project number SPBH 9802-905.
Mr. President, I move for the adoption of ordinance number 25-2673.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval. Any comments or questions from the body? Any comments from the public? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Posey.
Aye.
Councilor Swiney.
Aye.
Councilor Driver.
Aye.
Councilor Murphy. Councilor Middlebrooks.
Aye.
Councilor McClinton.
Aye.
Councilor Lyda.
Aye, vote 6 ayes and 0 nays, the motion carries and the ordinance is adopted. Item number 21, resolution number 8411-25.
This resolution grants conditional use approval with the conditions shown in the resolution for an event and party space to be established at the center of Riverchase Shopping Center for the property located at 1694 Montgomery Highway, Hoover, Alabama.
Mr. President, I move to approve resolution number 8411-25.
Second.
A motion and a second for approval. Any comments from the body on item? Any comments from the public? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Item carries and the resolution is adopted. Item 22, ordinance number 25-2669. Mr.
This ordinance amends ordinance number 263 of the City of Hoover, Alabama to rezone the property located at 2208 Chapel Road to E2 Single Family Estate District.
Mr. President, I move to adopt ordinance number 25-2669.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for adoption. Any comments from the body? Any comments from the public? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Posey.
Aye.
Councilor Swiney. Aye. Councilor Driver.
Aye.
Councilor Murphy. Councilor Middlebrooks.
Aye.
Councilor McClinton.
Aye.
Councilor Lyda.
Aye, 6 ayes and 0 nays. The motion carries and the ordinance is adopted. Item 23, ordinance number 25-2674. Start.
This ordinance amends Article 9 Supplemental Regulations, Section 9.08 swimming pools of the zoning ordinance of the City of Hoover, Alabama.
Mr. President, I move to adopt ordinance number 25-2674.
Second.
There's a motion and a second for adoption. Any comments from the body? From the audience? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, once again, call the roll.
Councilor Posey.
Aye.
Councilor Swiney.
Aye.
Councilor Driver.
Aye.
Councilor Murphy. Councilor Middlebrooks.
Aye.
Councilor McClinton.
Aye.
Councilor Lyda.
Aye, 6 ayes and 0 nays. Motion carries. The order is adopted. Brings us to the end of our regular agenda.
Yes, sir. Yeah, so, two things real quick. Notice Mr. Murphy's not here. For those of you that pray, lift up his daughter. She had an extensive orthopedic surgery today, so he's there getting her through that. I wish her a speedy recovery. Also a good friend of mine lost his mom and sister last night in a house fire in Moody. Keep it in prayers.
Councilor Driver?
Yes, Mr. President, I'm sorry for your loss, Councilor members. We will be praying with them. As you mentioned, Councilor Murphy was unable to be here tonight, but he did send me something that he would like for me to read, and I appreciate his support. It says, "Dear Councilwoman Driver, I appreciate the transparent and thorough process you have established for the Hoover Board of Education interview process. As a former member and president of the Hoover School Board, I understand the significance of this position in ensuring student success. Unfortunately, I am unable to attend today's meeting due to a critical surgery my daughter is undergoing out of state. All applicants were highly qualified, and I encourage them to seek future vacancies. However, I support Jeremy Weiss as the ideal candidate for this position. This email serves to express my concurrence with Mr. Weiss's appointment as the next Hoover Board of Education member."
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
Two things. The first is, years ago, Gene, you'll remember this, Joe, you'll remember this as well. The late Dan Fulton stood at that podium over there, and he said, he said, look around the room. I'm not picking on you, Austin, I promise, but look around this room and look at all the cameras in the back. Those people wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the drama going on in this place. He was right. And at that time, we were talking about school rezoning and that kind of thing, and there were way more than just Austin. There were a lot of cameras back there. We got to do something different. We got to figure something out. And the one thing that I would like to start with is Ashley's question deserves an answer. We've all seen the list of things that we're working on in Riverchase, but maybe we need to show the citizens what those things are. Maybe have Chris explain what they do, what goes on with those things. Maybe we just need a little bit more detail in it. I know we've already approved it, but with the sewer system as it is, and with it expanding, because I think that you're right. I think Riverwalk is gonna pump more water through, like Robin said. You're gonna treat more. It's gonna expand it, and the fact that that thing constantly depreciates, so does Inverness. That we need to just maybe explain what they do, what we're doing over there, what we're updating, what we're upgrading, if anything, and just show the people where their money's going. I mean, I think that if we start doing things like that, and maybe we're a little bit more diligent as a group, I'm not just talking about the mayor's office, I'm talking about everybody, on what we're doing with citizen money, that maybe we don't have the hostility at the meetings anymore. Because I mean, look, I've already put a story, and I'm not running again. And I look at you guys, and I hear how much Gene says he misses it. And I mean, if this keeps going this way, it's going to be a while before I miss it. We've got to do something different. And I just ask everybody, let's get together and let's do that.
Yes, sir. Paul Hamrick, Middlebrooks. Councilman Middlebrooks, I was going to get up to commend you about something, but first I wanted to say that your empathy and your dignity is what I respect in a public official, and I'm really glad you're here. I was going to commend you on what you did earlier in this meeting. You worked for the Hoover school system, and when a matter came up involving the governance of that school system, you recused yourself. And I assume you did that because it's required by law. Now, Mr. Lyda, what I was saying earlier is you vote regularly, and you have voted regularly to benefit your employer, Blue Cross Blue Shield. And I don't know if you caught everything I said a minute ago, but by noon Wednesday, I hope you've addressed this. If not, I'm going forward with this ethics complaint to the state. You know, it was a conflict last week when you voted for it. It was a conflict months ago when you voted for Riverwalk. And it's a conflict today. And there's a reason we have a state ethics law, and that is exactly why. Councilman Middlebrooks, thank you for your example.
Donna Mazer Hoover. I'm going to make this real short and sweet. Thank you. I would like to know why no one on this council can ever override Mr. Lyda when he doesn't answer anything. Why can't one of you on the council have the guts to stand up and say, I'm going to answer that question? Were you told that you can't by Mr. Lyda? Or is this just something you all choose to do and not answer? You have public comments. Why have public comments if you're asked a question and not one of you want to answer it? I need an answer for that. I respect what you said, Mr. Posey and Mr. Casey Middlebrook. And I'm sorry for I saw that in the paper today about the fire in Moody. But I need an answer. If you have public comments, why not one of you answer a question that is asked? It's the only thing I have to say.
Good evening. My name is Lee Schaefer, and I'm here tonight on behalf of Birmingham Recycling and Recovery, which is my employer. On March 31st, 2025, AL.com released an article that exposed the fact that recycling that is collected by AmWaste is being landfilled. It is not going to Repower South. It is going to Big Sky Environmental Landfill, not to be recycled. This is very disappointing. And presumably, it's also a breach of contract. Birmingham Recycling and Recovery is a local resource that is fully capable of recycling commodities, including cardboard, paper, plastic bottles, jugs, and jars with a number 1 or number 2 recycling symbol, and aluminum and steel and tin cans. We also do commercial plastics. We have a system of machinery and people who separate the mixed recyclables into separate commodities that are baled and sent to markets in Alabama and to neighboring states, including Georgia and Mississippi. The state of Alabama has many manufacturing facilities that need and use the recycled feedstock that is produced at our facility. KW Plastics in Troy, Alabama is the largest plastics recycler in the world. They recycle HDPE and PP, which are the number 2 and number 5 plastics. Indorama Ventures in Decatur, Alabama is a leading global supplier of PET, number 1 plastic, yarn, and fibers. Constellium in Muscle Shoals is a major aluminum sheet supplier that recycles aluminum cans. National Gypsum in Oxford recycles cardboard, and PCA in Jackson, Alabama recycles paper. These are all manufacturers in the state of Alabama who need recycled feedstock to make their products. Our company provides that feedstock to them on an everyday or every month basis. I urge you to consider your options as you weigh the fact that your recycling contract with AmWaste and Repower may have been breached. And you must ask, why is landfilling okay when there is industry demand and here locally there is a company that can handle recycling? And if you refute the findings in the AL.com report, then also consider, why would you send materials over 90 miles away to Repower South in Montgomery, or Big Sky Environmental, which is a landfill, not a recycling company, located 20 miles north of Birmingham? Landfills are expensive, and recycling extends the life of landfills and provides feedstock for industries and businesses, provides local jobs, tax revenue, and other benefits to the community. I urge you to consider your options when we are local and fully capable of handling your recyclable goods. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Mr. President, may I respond to Ms. Schaefer? I did see the article, and it has been on my to-do list with everything going on. I didn't think it was prudent to bring AmWaste in, but Mr. Grimes and Mr. Miller, could we have AmWaste come and give an update on the recycling efforts? Let's see.
And I encourage any residents who haven't seen that article, March 31st, al.com. Thank you very much for your time.
At Winthers, Scout Creek Drive. I want to say again, I'm really glad that we're going to address the stormwater issues that are dangerous and just totally problematic down there on 150 and 31. But I still, in the name of transparency, don't understand why there's not some public disclosure of how we got here. We have a settlement. We spent 3 years in litigation, paying lawyers, all of this. Mr. Corley offered on Thursday to at least provide some question and answer session. We've heard nothing. Can we give the public some indication of how we got here? Why we decided? Did the council insist that we're done paying legal fees and now we're gonna settle this? Was there some, insurmountable impasse and we realized we weren't gonna win? What happened? How did we get here? How did we spend all this money and all this time and have all these problems and we're not gonna talk about it? We're not gonna give some high-level overview of it? Is this transparency? Is it? Anyone? All right, we'll leave it. By the way, trucking trash 90 miles makes no sense to me. No sense.
KT Thomas, Trace Crossings. We've already discovered that the cost of installing and repairing stormwater infrastructure increases over time. And there are numerous examples, but I'd like to share a couple of those with you. In the 24-25 engineering report we heard last meeting, April 7th, it's not posted on the website yet, maybe it will be. Quail Run Drive drainage and improvements, including pipe replacement, cost the city $121,917. Looking backward, August 7th of 2017, Resolution 5630-17 was for $35,000 to make the same repair at Quail Run Drive. Mr. Lyda stated that the council had only 4 days to consider the resolution and he wanted more time. So it was set aside to the call of the chair and was never revisited. Dr. Middlebrooks was the only nay vote. This delay cost the city nearly $87,000 when it went from $35,000 to repair to over $120,000 to repair. Time is our enemy. The irony is that December the 5th, 2021, the city held a work session at 5 and a council meeting at 6. During the work session, the purchase of 3021 Lorna Road was brought to the council. 1 hour later, the council met and agreed to spend $1.9 million 1 hour later to purchase that building and about $50,000 in closing costs. 1 hour of consideration. Napier Drive, 2 resolutions for a total of $65,000 to repair drainage on Napier in 2017. Mr. Lyda once again motioned to continue the 2 resolutions to the call of the chair. Once again, the undaunted Dr. Middlebrooks was the only nay vote. June 30th, 2021, the Napier drainage study was complete at a cost of $12,600. They suggested 42-inch pipe and said specifically this will stop the flooding on Paulette Drive. October the 12th, 2021, the city spent $41,600 to repair the street and culvert on Paulette. The bottom line is that the city spent $54,200 to study and do emergency repairs, had $10,800 left over, but didn't reach a permanent solution. Can you see why residents are frustrated? You represent us. You all are our best hope for accountability and transparency. And you're doing a much better job, and it is so appreciated. Thank you.
Ashley Lovell. I was not planning on coming back up here, but I just want to say I appreciate Councilman Posey, your response. It compelled me to come back up, and I believe that you are absolutely on to something big as far as this goes. So we have to work together. The lack of transparency, the lack of accountability, everybody's saying the same thing. Whether it's Tattersall, whether it's Riverwalk, whether it's the Kroll report, it's all the same theme. And we have to work together because we're getting in our own way, quite frankly. So with that being said, we're not gonna all get what we want. That's not how it works, right? We all know that, but there's no reason why we can't work together, and there's no reason why we have to keep leaving the citizens in the dark, and we have to keep leaving the council in the dark, having to make decisions on limited information. We've got to work together.
Pete DeFranco, 742 Scout Creek Trail. I just want to say I hope that the mayor doesn't get arrested tomorrow, because we do need an election. Maybe that will answer some of these questions that these constituents have. So I hope that you don't get arrested tomorrow, Mayor. I really hope not, because you really need an election. And I want to see his supporters waste their money on his campaign.
Thank you. Thank you, Bridget.